So Jane and I have worked in broadcasting for a total of 475 years. And for most of that time, we've done daily shows, not necessarily every day of the week, but some days of the week, and interviewed quite a lot of people. I think it must be tens of thousands, actually, between us.
Oh, God.
If you think you've got 6 guests an hour, and we've been doing 2 hours or 3 hour shows. Anyway, it's quite a lot. Right. So after a while, you just think, is every interview basically the same with just a few extra flowers in the herbaceous border? So in order to try this out, we've gone back to some of the greatest interviews of all time. And for the purposes of experimentation, I'm going to ask the questions using the exact words and the format of a previous interview, and Jane is going to become the interviewee and answer the questions to the best of her ability. And we'll see whether or not every interview is the same. For this example, we've chosen Desert Island Discs. I am Roy Plomley, and Jane is going to be Princess Margaret. Okay. So right, in the basket
here we go.
Here, and don't worry, it's only going to take about 5 minutes, then we'll get to all your lovely questions, which are much more interesting.
Oh, but before you go on,
yes?
Can we just thank Ruth for the lovely bundle of French goodies that we got? Thank you so much. Put your hand down. Sorry you've got an embarrassing friend, but it's so much appreciated, particularly that fantastic stain remover. No, seriously, it's something we've raved about before, or I have, the French stain remover K2R. If you've never had the experience, I tell you, better than sex, better than anything. The fact that this...
Ruth, you should know that when she opened the box, the first thing she said was, "Oh, look, KY jelly."
Yeah. I just saw the letter K, and I made a leap.
Right, okay.
So here we go. So here's my transformation.
And here comes the transformation. We could all sing the Desert Island Discs theme tune if we wanted to. Little tiara goes on. A little scarf.
Oh dear, my poor motor skills are going to be...
I don't think you should do the scarf too tight. And the most important thing, she's having a fag. Okay, you've got to try and do the voice.
Pardon?
Can you hear me?
Not really.
Okay, this will go well. So I'm going to try and beat Roy Plomley. I'm delighted that our castaway this week is Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon. Ma'am, have you a big collection of records?
Have I got a big what?
Collection of records?
No.
How old were you when you began to be interested in music, when you began piano lessons?
I was about 5.
Do you play frequently for your own pleasure?
None of your business.
Okay, so then there was a record. Where was the family home in London when you were a child?
Sorry, I genuinely didn't hear that. Where was the what?
Take the scarf off. Take the scarf off.
Take the scarf off.
It's just going to be very, very hard work. Keep the tiara on. That's
okay,
good.
Right.
Where was the family home in London when you were a child?
Sorry, where was the fairy king?
Family home.
The problem we've got here is that Fee is genuinely posh, so it's not so difficult for her to do this. Right.
We had quite a few options.
Well, the correct answer is at 145 Piccadilly.
Oh, I see. God.
And Roy goes, "Oh, of course, it's now a road, alas."
A road?
A road. Yeah, got mown down by a road. And where did you spend your weekends?
Am I still a child? Because we all know how Princess Margaret in later life liked to spend her weekend.
Well, become Princess Margaret in later life.
I go to stay with friends. All over the place, really. Mystique. Would you like to see me in my one piece?
What's your earliest memory as a child?
Probably being really pissed off that I wasn't going to be the queen.
Which did you enjoy more, London or the country? Do you look upon yourself as a country girl?
I am a country woman to my very core.
Did your early education include some rather unusual subjects like protocol? These are genuine questions.
Are they genuine questions?
They are,
So
yeah.
this was an edition of Desert Island Discs?
This is Desert Island Discs.
What year?
I think it was...
1833.
No, I think it was 71.
Wow, I was alive when this went out.
Yes. Well, you're very old.
Well, in fairness, so were you.
Yeah, only just.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, I tell you, for the rest of it, why don't you do it as Jane Garvey, but just looking like Princess Margaret, because there are some couple of corkers coming up here.
Okay.
Did you study constitutional history?
I didn't, I'm afraid, no. But I could tell you a little bit about Swedish foreign policy in the 17th century.
Okay, we don't want to hear that.
Okay.
All history, of course, must have been made more interesting for you when illustrated by family portraits and relics and that sort of thing. You've got family portraits of Ray and Mo in the sheltered housing.
I am a family bereft of oils. I'm sorry, we don't have absolutely nothing.
There's a very pertinent one that actually points to the similarities between you and Princess Margaret. You mentioned earlier on that you and your sister formed your own company of girl guides.
My sister, unfortunately, was too fashionable to be in the Girl Guides. She was a very, very poorly behaved brownie and was never admitted to the Guides, whereas I, as many people will already know from the podcast, I did become patrol leader of the Blue Tits. A position I held for some time. In fact, I only left the Guides, and even then, only reluctantly, at about 18, just before I went to university.
Really? Dear God. Will you tell me about those famous pantomimes which took place in the castle? I believe they were your idea, weren't they?
Okay, I'm not entering a parallel universe in which the Garvey family had access to a castle. Okay.
Okay.
We did go to North Wales. I did go to Harlech Castle.
Nowadays, to what extent do you find you can move about without being recognised? Can you slip out and do a little shopping ordinarily?
I do go largely unmolested as I go about my business in East-West Kensington. But what I will say is that very occasionally, and I know this happens to you too, I meet a listener to the podcast.
Oh, and it's always lovely.
And it's lovely. And please, if you do see either of us out in the wild, we're easy to spot. We're at sort of this level. It is genuinely always lovely to chat to people, isn't it?
Well, always apart.
Well, pretty much always.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was one gentleman who waited for me outside the chemist on Stoke Newington Church Street to say hello. He had been inside the chemist when the chemist had asked me very loudly across a very crowded pharmacy whether I wanted worming tablets for the whole family. And as a matter of fact, I did. So just a couple more for you,
Right,
Princess.
so please, yes.
Yes. The first of so many, I have a list here. This is about your public engagement. Your presidencies and patronages of various welfare organisations and children's societies are a very long list, scores of them. They must be visited, of course. Someone with a taste for figures has listed about 107 engagements you fulfil in a year. Does that seem reasonably right? It seems a lot of work. She's working 1 day in 3.
Yeah. Come on, Roy, for God's sake. How many engagements in 365 days?
107.
Okay. Oh, Margaret, you must have been absolutely knackered.
Oh, dear. Anyway,
hell.
and so it goes on. Which ballets give you the greatest pleasure?
Oh,
very,
all of
very
them,
in-depth
yes.
question. Can be used for any politician in any war zone,
Well,
anywhere.
no, I just think as a great conversation opener, if you're stuck for something at a party, why
Yeah.
not?
You have a gift for mimicry. You're a good musician. You love dancing. In other circumstances, do you think you would have been a performer? And the last one.
Yes, please.
Few people have suffered more than you from wild and inaccurate and irresponsible press stories, especially in foreign papers. Can you laugh at them, or do you find them aggravating?
I can't bear it when the foreign press comment on what I'm up to. It's just disgusting.
Oh, and then he chunters on to the end. And the stuff that, you know, what book would you save and all of that kind of bollocks.
Right.
In there, one of the questions, what sort of shelter would you build?
What, Princess Margaret is
Yes.
being asked if she can build a shelter. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I take the tiara off now?
Yes,
please?
you can.
Yes, okay.
She's not entirely sure how that's going to go, but his
Right.
all-time great question, what would you eat? I've heard you're a good fisherman. Oh, and then he says goodbye. Thank you, Your Royal Highness, for letting us hear your desert island dusks.
Well, thank you very much, yes. Well, I mean, could you knock up a shelter?
No, I don't think so. I think that'd be
Oh,
very
well, if you've been in
unwise.
the Girl Guides as long as me, you would have been able to, you
I
see.
know.
It's the difference.
I didn't even make it 3 brownies.